Hello everyone, welcome back to the My Team Career Mode, and this is episode 4 of our journey.
Pretty low. We may need to shut down facility.
So, unfortunately, just like last episode, we've had some more recording issues. Those of you that have already noticed, that says round 5 and not round 4. Baku was not recorded, or it had some sort of issue, but I couldn't seem to find the file for it. So, in short, we were in a pretty low position the entire race. 18th, 19th for the majority, and a late race safety car brought us back into it with mixed strategies. We managed to get up to P15, but then second last lap coming down to the main straight, we had an engine failure and first DNF of the season. But nevertheless, we're going to advance on. These things happen from time to time, and it is a shame that I can't show you what happened. It was actually quite an exciting race towards the end. However, with the DNF, it has put us on a bit of a back step for this race. Also a bit of a mood killer essentially. A negative atmosphere is being brought into this Grand Prix, and I've never been too confident at Canada. I know that you can cheese the lines at the final chicane, but again, with the wall being right next to it, it's very risky. Um, and I also haven't done much practice here. I essentially just downloaded the time trial setup, lowered the tire pressures, and increased the downforce by a few notches, just because our car isn't very grippy in low speed, medium speed, or high speed corners. Which will put us even more on the back foot in a straight line. But it depends on what kind of setups the AI go for, because there's a long back straight of this track, so you could, maximize your straight line speed here and getting some good overtakes, but then it's holding that position for the rest of the lap, which is going to be quite difficult and obviously quite a challenge when you are trying to defend. A lot of these corners are medium and high speed corners, and they can be quite easy overtaking opportunities if you get the braking zones right. But you can see now going into qualifying for our first run, braking heavy into the chicane before the World Champions, we don't get a very good run and short shifting up to 5th, and we still get wheel spin. That just shows how awful our car is on the power. But we get a pretty decent apex. I would have liked to keep it a bit tighter, could have stayed on the brakes for a few milliseconds more, getting lots of wheel spin out of 4th and 5th, so that's definitely not a good sign for the setup. We had good 2 apexes through that chicane at the end of the first sector. We go green obviously since it's our first run. Don't want to take too much curb there. I think we almost got that perfect, to be honest. I don't feel quite confident on the curbs yet, even though our car is quite heavy. It should be able to ride them quite nicely, but there's just something about this car that makes it comfortable to drive when you're off curbs, but you need to use the curbs at some of these tracks to gain time. Coming down to the hairpin at the end of the track, then we get a semi-big lockup on the right front, but a bit of wheel spin, short shifting up to 5th to try and minimise that, and we do get quite a nice exit, activating DRS as soon as we can. 2 green sectors. I don't think this is going to be a very good lap, but we'll see. It felt quite nice driving it, except for the first few corners of what that was, but we get a great run through the final chicane, again activating DRS and keeping the car as straight as possible to get to the line as quick as we can, and that is a very solid lap, much quicker than I was expecting. However, we didn't go fast enough to get into Q2.
It's time once again then to go racing here in Montreal, the second largest French-speaking city in the world and home since 1978 to the Canadian Grand Prix. With top speeds of around 210 miles per hour heading into the overtaking opportunity of turn 13, the 2.7 miles of the Circuit Gilles Villeneuve are some of the quickest on the Formula One calendar. There are 14 corners in total, with 60% of the lap taken at full throttle, and average speeds clock in at about 130 miles per hour. It's time to take a look at our starting grid for today's race. Fantastic effort from Charles Leclerc yesterday, and it's put him on pole, edging out Max Verstappen, who will start from P2. As we continue through the rest of the grid today, we have Sainz, Perez, George Russell, and Hamilton. Norris, Fernando Alonso, Ricciardo, and Esteban Ocon. Gasly, Tsunoda, Kevin Magnussen, and Bottas. Mick Schumacher, Albon, Sebastian Vettel, and Guan Yu Zhou. Stroll, Latifi, Roberts, and Daniel Ticktum. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track. Natalie Pinkham joins me once again in the commentary box. It's fantastic to have you with us today. I'm curious though, how do you think the drivers stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
Well, I imagine they'll be starting to feel the adrenaline as they anticipate the rundown into turn one, a bit like preparing to go into battle. The unknown situation will bring nerves, but that's a good thing. It'll keep them focused on the moment and on their surroundings as we build towards the start of the Grand Prix.
So we're going to cut to the end of the formation lap now. I figure there's no point in showing you that since it's rather boring to be fair. I think we've done a relatively good job on our tyres, but you know, we've gone a bit too slow on this formation lap right now. We're stopping and doing wheel spins to try and get some heat into our tyres. We get purple parking as usual, and there are 4 and 5 red lights, and they're gone from first into second into third. I decided to try and not short shift since I think we had enough downforce, but clearly we don't, and we're all the way into last. For the third start in a row, we have a little look upside the Williams, but we think better of it as we go right round the outside of what seemed like a bunch of cars, but really was only our teammate and the Williams, and now we're alongside the Alfa Romeo of Zhou, whose name is still broken on the F1 game. Again, completely unnecessary warning there. I don't know why we took that. But now we've got to be really, really careful as we do a massive send into that relatively slow actually on the first lap. Left-hander out the right-hander, trying to minimise wheel spin and using overtake as quick as we can to try and keep ahead of him and defend from the Alfa Romeo, as we know how quickly that car is in a straight line. Another warning, so that's 2, so that's our 2 for the entire race that we can take, and we've used them at terrible timing that we didn't even mean to. Albon darts to the inside, so I was fully committed to a send there. That was terribly dangerous. Although to be fair, I think that might have been our fault more than Albon's there, because we were committed to that move but didn't see him until the last second. We were way too far back to try and send that, and you know, you can see we don't even have the straight line speed to keep up with the Williams. Either they've got a better engine or better drag production, or maybe even both, but we just can't seem to keep up with the cars in a straight line unless we get some sort of miracle run outside of the last corner. We advanced quite a large gap, to be honest, all the way to lap 6, considering not much happened. We got past Albon and Zhou got past him as well, but that is really all that's happened. We've just been trying to keep up with Stroll, which is a terrifying sentence somewhat to say, that we can't really keep up with the Aston Martins, considering that we were faster than them at round 1, and we were complaining about the car at round 1, but even though it's getting faster, because everyone else is advancing faster, it kind of feels like the car's getting slower. So we're going to have to try and think about a way to salvage some of what we have at the moment, maybe start saving some resource points or shutting some facilities to maybe get a better teammate. And if we can get more consistent finishes, that would be good, but we also need the car to back up as well. Alonso was been out 4th, that's why we instantly shifted back up to 5th. And I'm being super careful on all of these apexes now, because there are a lot of places you can accidentally get warnings here, and we've already taken 2, and if we get a 3rd, that's a penalty, and that could be us all the way down to last with how close the pack is, even through lap 6. I mean, if you have a look at the mini-map in the bottom, everyone but the leaders is kind of in one group. I mean, it's almost like everyone's getting DRS off everyone. Except for the car at the back, Verstappen pitted on lap 1, but you see Zhou behind us, he's almost sent up the inside. He hits our rear end actually, that's why we missed the apex bit. He looked to send on the inside, and I tried to move over before it was too late, and before it was too late to be deemed dangerous, but I guess it was too late anyway. Perhaps we should have just stayed on our line, but I feel like we didn't move too much. I think that might just be a racing incident, a misunderstanding of where each other's cars were going to be placed. And you can see some cars into the pits, and Bottas and Tsunoda, I think that was onto softs, so they're going to be quite a dangerous pair at the end of the race, I reckon. You should watch out for them. As you can see now, coming out of turn 1 into 6th, almost up to 7th. I was thinking about going up to 7th and shifting down an extra gear to maybe get some more rotation, but I think that might spun up our wheels a bit too much. I think at the minute the race is going pretty well, much better than I was expecting considering how much I am out of practice essentially on this circuit. This used to be one of my favourite circuits, however I could never seem to get a lot of these corners right considering that, you know, for the majority of the circuit the curves are quite flat. However, if you take a millimetre too much then you'll lose loads of time. You can see Joe behind us centre move up the inside into 4th and 5th. For whatever reason we seem to be really good under traction when under pressure. But whenever we're relaxing we keep spinning the wheels, but we've both got DRS now. Using overtake down the straights, we're going to look to his inside and see if we can get back his position. We're going incredibly slow through the apex as Joe has to go completely off track. There must be a warning or a penalty surely, because the Albon behind us trying to get involved as well. Going on to the home straight, then we're both still using overtake. We're going to switch it to the inside, send a surprise move on him down into third to try and get some extra rotation all the way around Joe's outside, and we're going to short shift up to 5th as well to try and keep some of that momentum going. We're going to switch to his inside, but he's suddenly started blocking the middle of the track. We ran into the back of him, we've got damage and we spun the wheels and we're around, and that's it. The front left has come off the car and that is our race over. That is 2 DNFs in a row. I have no idea what Joe was doing suddenly switching to the middle of the track like that. Even if he didn't do that, we could have backed out. We had the options, but as soon as he moved to the middle of the track, there was nothing we could do from that position. No matter how early we braked, we were going to end up colliding at either the first or the second apex. I feel like as soon as he moved over, that was inevitable
I think a
that
large part of
the
the result comes
accident
down
was
to
going to
temperament.
happen, and
They were
unfortunately that
able to
is
keep their head
our
when
race
everyone
over,
around them was
which
losing
is
theirs,
not the
and that has
ideal
allowed them
ending.
to get the best out of the
However,
car to
there isn't much
maximise
we
the
can do about
strategy
that now.
and stay out of trouble.
I was quite enjoying that race actually, more than I was expecting. I was enjoying that battle with Joe as well around the
Looking at the
last
podium,
half of
you
that
can
lap
see
with
that
his
red suit
surprise
familiar
send. I
to
guess
fans across the globe. A
perhaps it could have
world-class
been
win for a
desperation on
world-class
his
team.
part to keep
Ferrari
that
do it again.
position considering how tough we were making it for him. You know, dirty air is such a big factor at this track. He might have just sent it down our inside to try and get past us, getting some clean air considering we were losing the guys ahead. However, I don't think that justifies his actions. I feel like we could have avoided that if he'd stuck to his line, the normal racing line, instead of, you know, almost turning under braking but dying to the middle of the track just before the braking zone. I think that was incredibly dangerous and there wasn't much we can do
And after
on
this
our
round of
part,
the World
and that,
Championship,
yeah,
here's
like I
how
said, is
things
our
look in
race
the drivers'
over. A
table. It was not the
heartbreaking
best
end
weekend for our
to this
championship
Grand Prix.
leader,
I
and
really
their
feel like we
advantage
could
at the
have
top has been
done
reduced. So then,
solidly in
Natalie
this race,
Pinkham, who would
maybe
you rank as your
15th or
driver of the
14th
day?
perhaps, which would have
Today,
been
I
great
think I'll give it to the
considering the
house
DNF
driver.
last
Let's move
race
on
as
to the
well that you
constructors. The lead at the
didn't
top.
see, unfortunately. But that is 2 DNFs in a row, which is not good. You know, we're trying to get as many points as we can in a low performance team, which I realise is quite a lot to ask, but we've had 2 so far this season. It seems all we need at the moment is luck, and luck seems to be playing into our hands until that accident, which is again rather unfortunate. And it's done now. We can't do anything about it. These things happen from time to time, even in real F1. No drivers are perfect, and there's nothing you can do to avoid these accidents. They are part of the sport. If there was no accidents, then it would be quite boring, to be honest. You can see we're shutting down some facilities. I want to try and save up some money for a new teammate, perhaps. I guess we'll have to see how much money we do end up having by mid-season or the end of the season. If we do have enough money for a new teammate in mid-season, perhaps that could be a good
Hey,
option.
the personnel team
And
wants to
then
run
we
this one
can start
past you.
focusing on developing the car. We're going to agree to that
Thanks for handling that.
purely because it gives us enough resource points to do that engine power upgrade, which we so desperately need. I feel like we're gonna start getting into the rhythm of things now. We've got some upgrades on the car. I think we've got 3. I think we've got 2 mines and a major, which is rather exciting. We're still going to be behind the other cars in development, but that gap is going to be smaller, which is quite an exciting thing to think about. Next Grand Prix, is my home Grand Prix and the team's home Grand Prix, so hopefully we can deliver.
Okay, we have a new part
I
coming
hope
through
you
the
guys
fabrication
enjoyed
process.
this
We'll have
episode.
them with
Sorry
us for the
again
next
about the
Grand Prix.
corrupted video for Baku, and I am very disappointed at the way this race ended. However, I hope up until that point it was entertaining, and I hope to continue entertaining you guys on a weekly basis with this content. If there's anything I can change, please let me know. I am welcome to constructive criticism. I will see you all next time. Bye bye.